Hi there. The last time we spoke, I talked about my early childhood, my coming into this world, and the fact that I was speaking Jewish language of some sort, recognizable by the corner store Jewish owner. And that wasn't the only thing. Um, it seems that my grandmother took me on a trip, and we went down south. And apparently there was a white woman who looked at me, and my grandmother probably had me dressed, oh, just to the T. And I had white gloves on. I don't know how many remember that, but way back when I was a little girl, people actually wore gloves when they traveled and to church, etc. And the woman looked at me, and she said to my grandmother, or she asked my grandmother, how old is this child? I don't know why she thought, I don't know what she saw that made her question that. But I looked up at her and I said, I am 2.5. Now, that's not the way I spoke all of the time, but I'm thinking to myself that seeing her, because there weren't that many white people around in my community or in my grandmother and mother's church, not around my father. I hadn't started taking ballet lessons yet, because when I did, that's when the world opened up to me, the international community of ballet dancers. So I don't know what it was other than her face. And then I found out that, yes, I've had quite an interesting past life in European countries. And so that was like a little warning, a little, I don't know, echo from the past. As I continued in school, and by the way, I went to a Catholic school, um, I always asked questions that couldn't be answered. For instance, how is it that every time God appears, there's this cloud that billows? Of course, you know the answer to any question that you ask in terms of religious instruction. The answer is always, it's a miracle, and you're not supposed to know. Well, it didn't satisfy me, but of course I said yes, because I'd been, raised by my mother and grandmother to be very respectful to elders and priests, etc. Well, at any rate, we went on into the journey by being asked for a particular assignment in school. Now, today you wouldn't allow your child to walk outside of the door 2 blocks, let alone 10 blocks. But in that day, yes, you could do that. And so I did. I walked to the libraries. I was in elementary school, and I was looking for um, particular books to help with my instruction that I had been given. And instead, when I got there, something just took my little hand and just placed it on a row of books. Today, that row of books would be called New Age. At that point, I think it was called Metaphysical Arts or something like that. And I selected several books and took them home. I don't know if I ever got the books I was supposed to, find my answers to. I took them home, and it was my habit to read until maybe midnight or beyond. I had a certain way of keeping my things. All of my little comic books were in alphabetical order. My clothing was always designed by color in my closets. And I started reading these books. And I thought to myself, who is this person, Edgar Cayce? And why was it such a strong feeling guiding me towards it? When I opened the books, I learned about past lives. I learned about, oh my goodness, so many things, communications beyond, how one could go within one's body and know the answers to illness. At the same time, I also had a book on Indian mysticism, and I learned how the mind can control everything in your body and manifest things as well. That was a big thing for me. My teachers were not present. They were through books until one night I was reading, just about to go to sleep, and out of the corner of the room came this well-dressed man. I wasn't frightened. the few people I have shared this with were saying, "Oh my gosh, weren't you scared?" What? No, because he was very well dressed, and he spoke with me, or he laid in my mind an intelligence and a respect for me that I would understand the words that he was sharing with me. And I noticed he had a dark suit on, a white shirt, dark tie, and I looked down, and his shoes were shined well, which was to me somehow, given how I was, wanting everything in its place, it impressed me. He wasn't saying horsey and things like that. Here's a little horsey. No, he talked with me the way I would hope to be able to convey what I need to say today, maybe perhaps better than I could do today. And he began to teach me about planes of existence, life on other planets, and answered any questions I might have. And this went on through my first day at high school. That was a special day. I had been urged to come to school, my first day in high school, come or arrive at least an hour and a half before, which is, very extraordinary. And I knew he was with me. And as we walked to the high school, I had a very sorrowful conversation with him. I think the reason he had me to come early is because he knew I would talk with him, and I guess he thought, this poor kid, she's going to talk with me out loud, and all the kids are going to see her, and she'll be seen as being kooky from there on, so we'll talk about it now. And he explained to me that, how much he appreciated and loved all of the instructions and time we'd spent together, but that life had to teach me now. That's what he said. And of course I began to weep because he was like my best friend and my teacher, and I respected and loved him. And then he said, I'll be back. I'll come back. But as he'd said, life has to teach you now. So that's our journey for today. And I'll explain a few more things about all of that the next time we talk. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Zani Matuma. Thank you for being with me on this very mystical journey.